The Times of India, 15th of October 2023, Maldives muddles, the seesaw between China and India is typical and does not diminish India's might. China is consuming tiny countries around the perimeter of India as part of its all-out campaign against the Indian subcontinent. Mohamed Muizzu has tempered his previously adamant opposition to India's growing sway over the island nation following his victory. The elected president or prime minister is uncomfortable with rhetoric, but opposition leaders are. Critics who viewed Muizzu's victory as a blow to India's influence in the Maldives should first remember that SAGAR, security and growth for all in the region, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision for the Indian Ocean region, and India's neighborhood first policy are both successfully implemented. Secondly, it is not easy to challenge the world's second-largest economy. China benefited from Muizzu's rule, though not as much as it did under Abdullah Yameen. In dealing with the Maldives, a revitalized India faces two challenges: China's unwavering determination and unexpected actions to establish its presence in the strategically important islands, and its challenges in rectifying past policy mistakes and successfully enforcing its neighborhood policy on the others. The opinion piece in this context aims to draw attention to 5 factors relevant to the details of the competition between China and India for influence in the Maldives. To begin with, the power struggle in the Maldives is not a recent development. Due to the Maldives' advantageous location, several European colonial powers fought for control of the small islands throughout the Indian Ocean throughout the colonial era. European maritime colonial powers like the Portuguese, Dutch, and British were interested in the Maldives. When the Portuguese discovered the Maldives in 1907, they made the Sultan of the Maldives supply coir for their naval. Eventually, the Portuguese started to rule the Maldives from Goa after Captain André's successful conquest of the islands in 1558. This rule persisted until 1573. Muhammad Muizzu, a local leader in the Maldives, successfully led a guerrilla battle in 1573 to drive the Portuguese out of the islands. Nonetheless, the Dutch acquired control over Maldivian affairs in the second half of the 17th century without actively meddling in internal or regional issues. Subsequently, on December 16, 1887, the Sultan of the Maldives and the British governor of Ceylon signed a treaty conceding the islands foreign policy independence while preserving their self-governance. The Maldives turned into one of Britain's protectorates. This arrangement lasted until July 26, 1965, when the Maldives gained complete independence from the United Kingdom. Nonetheless, British control over the air base on the island of Goa persisted until 1976. From 1941 to 1956, the Goa functioned as a strategic outpost for the British Navy. It was subsequently transformed into the British Royal Air Force Centre, known as RAF Goa, and stayed that way until 1976. India initially had no strategic interest in the Maldives, but when the British left, it was seen as having a significant impact. China joined the picture at the start of the 21st century and started to challenge India's dominance in the Maldives. Second, India is challenging the geographic binary in the surrounding area. It can be a benefit or a curse, depending on the situation. Interestingly, China is an aggressive, terrible state, whereas India is a hegemonic force for the Maldives and its neighbors. China's security is threatened by giving in to India. Increasing Chinese debt does not provide protection. This has frequently disadvantaged India and is more about psychology than reality. Although anti-India sentiment was not particularly weakened by India's status as a protectorate and security provider, such measures did facilitate government work. Either the Indian military's Operation Cactus in 1988, which aimed to stop the Maldives from going into a coup, or India's prompt humanitarian aid to the Maldives during the male drinking water crisis, or Mission SAGAR, which helped the Indian Ocean littoral states during the COVID-19 pandemic, have greatly improved relations between the governments and done little to change the mindset of most Maldivians. Anti-India groups have had some degree of success thanks to Chinese support. Thirdly, competition exists with the nation, which has initiated steps to establish an institutionalized presence in the Maldives. China is currently making an effort to institutionalize its presence in the Maldives through a variety of means, including improved penetration into government systems, the development process, the election process, increased affinity with prominent party leaders, and engaging various social and economic working groups, following continuous investment in any form, diplomatic, financial, or strategic. This quiet power transfer combines attractiveness, latent coercion, and financial incentives to achieve the desired results. This seems to be a manageable latent inference for people, society, and the Maldivian government, something outside the notion of soft power. This is a Chinese strategy of interference that is quietly and methodically fostering a pro-China environment in the Maldives through information maneuvering and civil society deception. Fourth, a change in the Maldives' political inclination is anticipated in either direction, given the effectiveness of India's neighborhood-first policy and the intensity of Chinese diplomacy. A president or prime minister who had backed China in the past might now be in favor of India or adopt a neutral stance. Recent evidence of this has been shown in Nepal and Sri Lanka. In his last years in government, K. P. Oli, the Prime Minister of Nepal and a pro-China politician, showed little interest in cultivating a cordial relationship with India. The current Prime Minister of Nepal, who is formerly well known for his love of China, appears to have significantly changed his mind. At least, India's concerns are not minimized. In specific ways, the changing political preferences of the Rajapaksa brothers in Sri Lanka, Mahindra, and Gotabaya, show similar trends. These can be linked to how China's lousy behavior and internal pressures have been successfully merged with India's neighborhood strategy. Lastly, India must embrace the mini-laterals and the reduced gap in promise and delivery as the new standard in the area. The projects must be delivered on schedule, there is no other option. It may be possible to lessen China's advantage over India in the Maldives or the surrounding area by closing the gap between expectations and actual results. Thankfully, the Modi administration has prioritized making project and service delivery a strong point. Furthermore, the new approach in the region is known as mini-laterals, mainly as a reaction to China's ascent and the ensuing challenge to the regional or sub-regional balance of power. These kinds of organizations can offer lots of space for cooperation on various topics, from economics to security. The small groups known as mini-laterals, adaptable and unconstrained by law, can increase cooperation while lowering the possibility of inflaming anti-Indian sentiment.